All right, we're going to do today with solving one-step equations. Follows chapter 4.1, page 187 out of your textbook. Let's give it a try and see what we do. We're going to solve one-step equations to start with. So a one-step equation looks a lot like this. It might be x plus 3 equals 10. So it's an equation because of my equal sign. And the whole mission of these is I need to figure out what x equals. And to do that today, what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite to get x all by himself. And what I mean by doing the opposite is to get my 3 to the other side, I have to do the opposite of this plusing. So what's the opposite of plusing? Minusing. So I'm going to minus 3 from both sides. And I have to do it from both sides. Otherwise, it doesn't work. From both sides, okay? Because then it doesn't become a balanced equation anymore. Then you've changed the situation. So we have to do it to both sides. And the whole reason we do this is because I haven't done anything to my x, but plus 3 minus 3 becomes 0, so it's gone. Equals 10 minus 3 gives me 7. And I've now solved my answer. I can check. Let's definitely do a little check here. And when we check, we want to keep the left side and the right side separate. So the left side of my equation is x plus 3. If I put 7 in for x, 7 plus 3, I end up with 10. And let's see what was on the right side of my equation. 10. Ah, look at that. Left side equals right side. So since left side equals right side, therefore x equals 7. Good. Okay. So moving on, let's try another one. So that was A. So B, let's do an x minus 8 equals 2. Okay. So again, we're going to do the opposite. So in this case, we need to do the opposite of minusing. So the opposite of that is plusing. So let's plus 8 to both sides. And why did we do that? Because then x stays. Minus 8 plus 8 is 0. So now it's gone. Equals 2 plus 8 is 10. We're done. All right. A, B, C. Let's try negative 4 plus x equals 5. So now I've got them in the opposite order, but that's okay. It's still the same thing. And the negative still is attached to this coefficient, to my number here. So I've got that minus 4 is there, so I have to do the opposite. Opposite of minusing, remember, is plusing. So I'm going to plus 4 to both sides. Minus 4 plus 4 is now 0, so it's gone. So I got my x stays behind. 5 plus 4 is 9. Okay. Should we do maybe one more of this style? So let's just drop you down a little bit here. A, B, C, D. Let's try 7 plus x equals 14. So in this case, I've got the 7 at the front, but there's no symbol in front of it. There's an understood positive in front of any number, right? Like I didn't write anything here, but I understand that to be a positive. So it's understood to be positive. Opposite of positive is minus. So we're going to minus 7 from both sides. 7 minus 7 is 0. So we're left with x equals 14 minus 7 is 7. So there you have one-step equations where we're dealing with plusing and minusing. So let's switch it up and try another kind. Okay, so now let's say we're still on one step. So let's do one that looks like 4x equals 20. So when I've got the 4 and the x side by side like that, remember when you've got the numbers side by side to the letter, that's the same thing as 4 times x, so that's multiplying. And what's the opposite of multiplying? Divide. So let's divide both sides by 4. anything divided by itself is 1, so it's gone. Right, the 4's are now gone. And I'm left with x equals 20 divided by 4 is 5. Okay, E, F. So let's try one that's got a negative in front. So negative 30x equals 20. So again, this negative 30 is timesing the x, so I'm going to divide both sides by the 40, or the 30, sorry, the negative 30. And when I do that, that means that the negative 30 is gone. And I'm left with x equals, reduce our fraction, so 10 goes into both of them, negative 2 over 3. So the whole fraction is negative. I know I divided by a negative number, which makes my whole answer now negative. Good. All right, let's see. So there's a couple of multiplying. Let's do a dividing one, so E, F, G. Let's say x over 5 equals 3. That's a 5, by the way. Okay. Remember, fraction means divide, so the opposite of dividing is multiply. So let's multiply both sides by 5. So that means the 5's cancel out. And we're left with x equals 3 times 5 is 15. Okay. F, G, H. Whoa, H is an interesting one-step equation. So this one, I'm going to say x squared equals 25. So the opposite of squaring is to do the square root. And the square root of 25 is 5. And lots of times people leave it at that, but it's not quite complete. We have to start thinking about the fact that my answer is actually positive or negative 5. And why is that? Let's make sure we know why I'm saying that. If I have 5 squared, I end up with 25. If I have negative 5 squared, well, negative times a negative is also a positive, so I also end up with positive 25. So we have to think about this stuff now. We're starting to get to the point where we need to be concerned about all scenarios, not just one. Okay. Okay, let's talk about two-step equations now. So I believe I'm on example I. And let's say 5x plus 25 equals 100. Okay? So remember our mission. And our mission always when solving equations is to get x by itself. Mission, get x by itself. So to do that, we have to get the numbers to the other side. So our order, because now I've got more than one thing to do, is I have to move my pluses and minuses first. So anything that's been adding or subtracting, I have to move first. Then I do my multiplying or my dividing second. So when I'm doing the opposites to solve, I'm also doing the opposite order of operation, more or less. Opposite to bed mass. Okay, so let's try it out and see how it goes. So according to my rules, I have to move my plusing or minusing first. So that would be this 25 here. So it's minus 25 from both sides. So my 5x stays. 25 minus 25 is gone. Equals 100 minus 25 is 75. Now I've got a one-step equation. Nice. Okay. Divide both sides by 5, because that's the opposite to the multiplying. 5 divided by 5, so that's gone. So I'm left with x equals 75 divided by 5 is 15. Okay. Let's do two more examples. So that was I. Let's do j. So let's say negative 3x plus 6 equals 27. Again, follow our steps. Let's move the plus 6 first. So we're going to minus 6 from both sides. And you're left with negative 3x, 6 minus 6, so that's gone. 27 minus 6 gives me 21. Divide both sides by negative 3. And you're left with x equals 21 divided by negative 3 gives me a negative 7. Okay. Let's do one last one. X over 10 minus 8 equals 4. I think I can squeeze that in. Order of operations, opposite, says I'm going to move the 8 first. So that's plus 8 to both sides. So I've got x over 10 equals 4 plus 8 is 12. Fraction line means divide, so let's multiply both sides by 10. And you're left with x equals 120. Let's just do a quick little check. Make sure we believe ourselves. Drop that down so you can see it. And let's see, check our left side. So our left side was x over 10 minus 8. We decided x was 120, so let's sub that in. So you get 120 over 10 minus 8. 120 divided by 10 gives me 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. Okay? Right side of my equation was 4. Easy. 4. Oh, look. That's what we got. So, since left side equals right side, therefore x equals 120, double slash, QED.